in the AFC. Here we go. Bengals, Chiefs. Here it is.
No, I'm tired of the underdog narrative. We're a really, really good team. We're here to make noise. Teams are going to have to pay attention to us. We're, like I said, a really good team with really good players and coaches, and we're coming for it all.
Money Mac, I'm a shooter. I aim for the stars, stand alone like Boomer. Icky shuffle in the end zone. Our opponents get sent home. Legacy set in stone. We ain't underdogs, we been on. Don't sleep on our town. Cincinnati gets down. Now we're going for the crown. We're Super Bowl bound. Yeah. Why not us? It is us. Welcome to the jungle. Now let me hear you say.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is K-Drama with the Who Dey anthem for all the Cincinnati Bengal fans out there. The Cincinnati Bengals are in their second consecutive AFC Championship game for the Chiefs. The Chiefs, this is their fifth straight conference championship game. This is the Bengals' fourth ever conference championship game. Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes for a second consecutive season for the rights to go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC. Joe Burrow is previously 3-0 versus Patrick Mahomes. The spread right now is the Chiefs are favored over the Bengals by 1.5 points. This spread has switched twice within the last few days. Originally, it was the Chiefs that were favored, and then they went to the Bengals and favored the Bengals by a point. Now it's back to the Chiefs, favored by 1.5. The over-under for this game is 47.5 points. Kickoff is 6:30 p.m. in Kansas City. So as I look at this matchup, I want to start off with the quarterbacks because we got two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and Joe Burrow has done very, very well against Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow is 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes, and when you look at what they've done against each other in those matchups, Joe Burrow, he averages 327 passing yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, passer rating of 121.0. He's completed 72% of his passes against Patrick Mahomes. He has 3 wins, no losses. Now here's Patrick Mahomes' stats against Burrow. He averages 252 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, completing 67% of his passes. His passer rating is 101.0. He hasn't beaten Burrow yet. And it's crazy because we talk about Patrick Mahomes, and we know how great Patrick Mahomes is. Patrick Mahomes already won an NFL MVP in his first season starting in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes had 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, over 5,000 passing yards, and he didn't lead the Chiefs to the Super Bowl that year. They lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. But the following year, he led the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. They beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And Patrick Mahomes is the best young quarterback that we have in the NFL. And when you talk about greatest quarterbacks of all time, the trajectory that Patrick Mahomes is on, he's on a Hall of Fame path. I don't think there's been a quarterback in NFL history who's had a better 5-year start to their career than Patrick Mahomes has had in the first 5 years of his career. First 5 years of his career, Patrick Mahomes has had the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. They might as well rename the AFC Championship the Patrick Mahomes Invitational, because every single year the Chiefs are in the AFC Championship game. Patrick Mahomes is 11-0 in the divisional round of the playoffs. He is, I'm sorry, not I don't know. I don't think it's 11-0. He's 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but he has, like, he's dominant in that round of the playoffs. Hasn't thrown a single interception. And we know how great Patrick Mahomes is. But Patrick Mahomes cannot beat Joe Burrow. He can't beat Joe Burrow and this Lou Admiral defense from the Cincinnati Bengals. And in the 3 matchups when they've played against each other, last year in the regular season, the Chiefs, they were beating the Bengals 28-17 at the half. In that game, the Bengals outscored the Chiefs 17-3 in the second half, and the Bengals beat the Chiefs 34-31 at Paul Brown Stadium. And then you fast forward to the AFC Championship game last year. Last year in the AFC Championship game, the Chiefs were beating the Bengals again, this time in Kansas City. Chiefs were up on the Bengals 21-3. And at the half, the Chiefs were beating the Bengals 21-10. And the Bengals overcame an 18-point deficit in that game. And the Bengals beat the Chiefs 27-24 in that game. And then this year at Paycor Stadium, the Chiefs were beating the Bengals going into the fourth quarter. They were up 7 points in that game. So time and time again, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals have been able to overcome deficits against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's crazy because you look at what Joe Burrow has been able to accomplish so far in his career. This is the most playoff wins by a quarterback in his first 3 seasons. Joe Burrow has 5. That's the second most in NFL history, only behind Russell Wilson, who has 6 playoff wins in his first 3 seasons. So, you know, I look at what Burrow has been able to do against Mahomes. These are 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And this game is so much at stake, because if Joe Burrow beats Patrick Mahomes and he improves to 4-0 against Patrick Mahomes, and he beats Mahomes for a second consecutive season in the AFC Championship game in Arrowhead, number one, we're going to have to rename Arrowhead Burrowhead. And it's funny because the Bengals players, they were already saying this in the immediate aftermath. Once they beat the Bills last week, they were saying, hey, we got to go to Burrowhead next week. So I love how they're having fun with that. But if Burrow beats Mahomes again in the AFC Championship game for a second consecutive season in his house, and if he goes to the Super Bowl and wins a Super Bowl, and the Bengals win their first Super Bowl in franchise history, I believe that there are going to be people who are going to say that Joe Burrow is not only the best quarterback in the AFC, but the best quarterback in the NFL. It's so much to gain from a win from Joe Burrow's perspective. It's so much at stake that he can gain when it comes to respect and how we view the best quarterbacks in the NFL. For Patrick Mahomes, if he beats Joe Burrow, I believe that Mahomes would have to win another Super Bowl when it comes to how we view Mahomes and his trajectory when it comes to the all-time great quarterbacks. So I think if he beats Burrow, he gets to still claim that he's the best quarterback in the NFL, number one. But once he gets to the Super Bowl, if Mahomes wins the Super Bowl, I believe we got to start looking at Patrick Mahomes as possibly being the greatest NFL quarterback of all time if he's able to pile up these Super Bowls. This would be number 2 for Patrick Mahomes. We know Brady has 7, but if Mahomes wins his second Super Bowl, then we got to start looking at Mahomes as possibly being able to be the best quarterback of all time. Because we know from a talent perspective, Mahomes is better than Brady. He's better than Brady. Aaron Rodgers is better than Brady. But again, I think if Mahomes beats Burrow, he'll still be able to claim that he's the best quarterback, in the NFL. I think if Burrow beats Mahomes, I don't believe he can say he's the best quarterback in the NFL. But I believe if he wins a Super Bowl, you can make an argument for it. You can make an argument for it because he would have beaten Mahomes twice in back-to-back seasons. Now, when it comes to these two football teams overall, let's start off with the Bengals offense versus the Chiefs defense. Offensively, we know the Bengals, they got a high-powered offense. They got the best skill position group in the NFL, led by Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and they got Hayden Hurst. And I think Hayden Hurst is an upgrade over C.J. Uzomah. That was who was the Bengals tight end last year. I think Hayden Hurst is better than Uzomah. So the Bengals receiving core and their tight end in Hurst is the best in the NFL to me. And we got a lot of great skill position players playing this weekend. But I think you can make it a legit argument that the Bengals have the best. And I want to see if the Bengals are going to be committed to running the football, because that was what they was able to do last week against the Buffalo Bills. Last week, the Bengals, they had 172 rushing yards in that game. And I think that's going to be key in this matchup against the Chiefs. Because if the Bengals are able to protect Joe Burrow the way that they did against the Bills, I think the Bengals can definitely move the football against defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo and that Chiefs defense. Everyone talked about last week when it comes to the Bengals offensive line. They didn't have Jonah Williams. They didn't have Alex Kappa. So everyone is talking about, can they protect Joe Burrow? And the Bengals did a great job protecting Joey B last week. So if that offensive line can hold up and protect Joe Burrow and open up running lanes for Joe Mixon, for P. Ryan, I believe that Chiefs defense is going to struggle against the Bengals offense. I really, really do. And to Burrow's credit, Burrow does a great job at getting the football out of his hands quickly. He does a great job at that. I really love the fact that Joe Burrow is able to recognize as a quarterback, hey, I know I'm down a few offensive linemen. I have to release the football quickly for the offense to be effective. So that's going to be key. And we know that Joe Burrow this year specifically elevated his game. I mean, you look at what he was able to do this year: 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 4,475 passing yards. He completed 68% of his passes this year. And in college, Joe Burrow was a winner. He won the Heisman Trophy. And that year, he had 60 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. I think he completed like 70% of his passes that year. Joe Burrow is a proven winner. And I love listening to Joey B in his press conferences, because as fans, as people who watch these games, a lot of times we nervous. we nervous watching these games because it's pressure. But when I listen to Joe Burrow in his press conferences, Joe Burrow is so calm. He is so calm. And if you're a Bengal fan, that has to give you confidence when you see your football team play on Sundays. When you see your quarterback is as calm as Joe Burrow is, it makes you relax a little bit. Like, okay, he got this. He got it all figured out. And there was a play last week. I think it was on the touchdown pass that he had to Jamar Chase in the first quarter against the Bills. After he threw that touchdown pass to Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow went to the sideline. He said, "I'm him." He's right. The Bengals, they got them a dude at quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. The Cincinnati Bengals will be competing for Super Bowls in the AFC. Now, when we switch gears to the Chiefs offense versus the Bengals defense, we know how great Patrick Mahomes is. Patrick Mahomes, here in a few weeks, he's going to be named the NFL MVP. This year, Mahomes had 41 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 5,250 passing yards. He completed 67% of his passes. And Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, he's 8-3. He has 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So he elevates his game in the postseason. The biggest question for Patrick Mahomes is going to be, how effective is he going to be on that injured ankle? Because we know how mobile Mahomes is as a quarterback when he's on the move. This is Patrick Mahomes, including the playoffs this year. From the pocket, he got 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, passer rating of 107.5. But on the move, he has 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, passer rating of 95.7. That's the second most passing touchdowns on the move in the NFL. So we know how great Mahomes is on the move. But in this game, with that injured ankle, I'm not sure that Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to make plays outside the pocket like he's normally accustomed to making. I think he's going to have to be inside the pocket, but Mahomes can still, kill you inside the pocket, throwing the football. He can surgically throw the football down the field effectively and kill you even inside the pocket. So I'm warning all Bengal fans, don't get so caught up in this injury that Patrick Mahomes has with his ankle. Do not get caught up in that ankle injury. I think Patrick Mahomes, he's not going to be 100%, but I think he's going to be healthy enough to where he can still be effective in this Chiefs offense, and the Chiefs are still going to be able to move the football. But I think the biggest question for Mahomes, Andy Reid, what are they going to do when Lou Admiral has 3 down linemen and 8 players drop back in coverage? Because that's what the Chiefs offensively, that's what they have struggled with against this Bengals defense. And one of the critiques that you can have when it comes to the Chiefs offense, especially in the past, will Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes be patient enough to run the football with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and with Pacheco? That's what's going to be key for the Chiefs, because when the Bengals have these 3-man fronts, the Chiefs have to make them pay in the running game. They got to make them pay in the running game. That's what's going to be key for the Chiefs offensively. Now, offensively, the Chiefs, they average 116 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 20th in the NFL. And the Bengals defensively, they are one of the best defenses against the run. They give up 107 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 7th in the NFL. But I think that's what's going to be key. Isaiah Pacheco is going to be an X factor for the Chiefs offensively. Now, we know Travis Kelce is their best weapon in their offense, but I don't think this is going to be a Mahomes-Kelce game. I think this is going to be a game where the Chiefs have to depend on the rushing attack with Pacheco. That's what's going to be key. Now, Travis Kelce's going to get his touches. Last week, he had like 14 receptions against the Jaguars for whatever reason. I still can't figure out why opposing defensive coordinators, they don't recognize, hey, I got to figure out where number 87 is at all times. For the life of me, I still don't understand how defensive coordinators don't understand this. I really, really don't. You look at what Travis Kelce, the 2022 season this year, including the playoffs, Travis Kelce, 110 receptions. That's ranked third in the NFL. 1,338 receiving yards. That's ranked eighth in the NFL. 12 receiving touchdowns. That's ranked second in the NFL. I think Travis Kelce is on a Hall of Fame path right now as a player. And I think he is the best tight end in the NFL. The way that Patrick Mahomes is able to rely on Travis Kelce in this Chiefs offense, it's the same way Tom Brady was able to rely on Rob Gronkowski during the Patriots dynasty. But this is going to be a great matchup between two great teams. And it's interesting when you look at what Joe Burrow has been able to do for the Bengals during the Bengals' first 53 seasons. During the Bengals' first 53 seasons, they were 5-14, so they won 26% of their games. They had 2 conference championship appearances. The last 2 seasons, under Joey B as their starting quarterback, the Bengals are 5-1, so they've won 83% of their games, and they have 2 conference championship appearances. Before Joe Burrow took over as their quarterback, the Bengals had the worst win percentage in NFL history when it comes to their postseason history. So it's amazing what they've been able to do since Joe Burrow has been their quarterback. So for me, I've been going back and forth with this game. I really, really have with who's going to win this game because I believe that the Bengals have more of a complete football team than the Chiefs do, but I know how great Patrick Mahomes is. With all that being said, I'm rolling with my hometown Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Kansas City Chiefs and punch their ticket to their second consecutive Super Bowl. I'm going Joe Burrow, 27, Patrick Mahomes, 24. I think it's going to be the same identical score from last year's AFC Championship game. I'm going Burrow 27, Mahomes 24. And I think Burrow is going to beat Mahomes for a 4th consecutive season. I think that the Bengals are slightly a better team than the Chiefs are. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports.